Welcome to Improve Your English Writing video number 15, where I'm continuing to cover clarity. And under clarity, I'm going to be covering avoiding the words is, was, and were, avoiding a verb with an ing verb, so example, started walking, and using active voice. So if you'd like to get notifications to this series, please click subscribe. If you like the video or think others will find it useful, please hit like. And check out links to books and videos in the description. For example, there's a link to the companion volume, Improve Your English Writing, in the description. So let's continue discussing clarity, where we're going to avoid the verbs is, was, and were. So the verbs is, are, was, and were only link parts of a sentence together. They are called linking verbs because normally they just link like a noun to an adjective, things like that, like he is tall. Really just linking he to tall in that sentence. So these verbs is, are, was, and were only link parts of a sentence together, and they really don't move it forward. So what you want to do is use a more concrete verb, or use a concrete verb, or when you see one of these verbs, rewrite it, if possible, with a concrete verb. So for example, if the original sentence said, the focus of the training is first aid, really you're just linking focus of the training with first aid. So this linking verb is just doing that. I mean, I say it doesn't move it forward, at least it is a sentence, but this is not a concrete verb. Maybe there's a better verb that we can use for the sentence instead of is. And a possible rewrite is, the training focuses on first aid. I think this sentence is definitely better than the rewrite because the verb is much better. It's actually shorter and the verb is better. So this rewrite is better. Another example is, Robert's email is a summary of the new laws. So once again, this verb is a linking verb. It's just linking Robert's email with summary of new laws. Is it moving it forward? I said it doesn't. It is a sentence. It does convey the information, but is there a better verb, a more concrete verb that can express this sentence better? And there is. The rewrite is, Robert's email summarizes the new laws. So once again, the sentence is shorter and it uses a better verb. Therefore, the rewrite is better. Now, these two examples almost make it look like it's easy to rewrite sentences that contain is, are, was, and were very easily. But in practice, this takes a little bit of practice to rewrite these types of sentences. So you really need to go through and find out what you can use, what word will, which word can you use for the verb? Because, sometimes you're looking for like, oh, is there another hidden verb? And you're really, if you look at these, you're actually pulling a noun out and putting it in a verb form. So let's move on to the next topic of avoiding a verb with an ing verb. The example was started walking. So when you see one of these verbs that are following here, consider with an ing verb, consider deleting it. That's just another way of saying this sentence is when you see started, began, is, was, and were with an ing verb, consider deleting these 6 words here. So let's do some examples. The worried mother began pacing back and forth. So here we see this word began is with an ing verb. This usually means we can just delete this word. Just can't delete it and just leave the sentence alone. Sometimes it requires a little bit of rewriting or changing the verb a bit. And the changes, the worried mother paced back and forth. So you have shortened the sentence by one word, which is good. We're making it more concise, but it's also clear. So this verb right here is not helping at all. It's just diluting the verb. I'm going to call it diluting the verb because you can actually replace these two with this one word, which is better. So another example is a mob was starting to form. So once again, we have was with an ing verb. You could probably, once that should signal that this word was is probably not needed. So the revision is a mob started to form. Hopefully you notice the pattern now. It's almost this ing verb becomes past tense. So this second example goes. The second example goes from a mob was starting to form as original to the revised a mob started to form. We can even revise this further of a mob formed. So probably if you wrote this original, one of these two revised sentences is shorter and is better than the original. So now using active voice. So in active voice, the subject does the action. The softball hit Mary. Here, the softball is the subject. It performs the action of hitting. But in a passive voice sentence, the subject is actually acted upon. It receives, or the subject receives the action. It doesn't perform the action. So just reversing this. So now we're going to write this sentence, the softball hit Mary. We're going to put it in the passive voice. Mary was hit by the softball. So now the subject is receiving the action or is being acted upon. So that's the difference between active and passive voice. You can see how it's conjugated, that to form the passive voice you have to have this helping verb, this form of the verb to be. So active voice is usually preferred to the passive voice. So that's why they say write with the active voice. Not only is it clearer, it's actually more concise or shorter, as we shall see. And it's usually preferred. But the passive voice does serve a function, and it's there's two situations that you usually use the passive voice. So what I'm trying to say is the passive voice is not always bad. It's overused, or what happens is that the subject keeps getting acted upon, and the passive voice is longer. So you can rewrite it to where the subject is doing the action and the voice in the sentences is shorter. Tends to be preferred. But the passive voice is used when the object needs emphasis, or when the subject is unknown or not important. So for example, the sentence, the house was built in 1995. Well, probably who built the home? Like you should say, this builder, Elliott Holmes. Elliott Holmes built the house in 1995. Well, we don't know. Maybe we don't know who built the home. We don't know who the developer is. We don't know who the builder is. So you just say the house was built in 1995. You have to write the sentence in the passive voice, or maybe it's just not important. Maybe you know who it is, but it's just not important. And you also, or maybe you could say you know who it is, but you're saying that the emphasis on the house. So, if we want to back up to a sentence about emphasis, you could say, the softball hit Mary. But if you're trying to emphasize it was Mary who got hit, then you would actually use the passive voice like this one here. Mary was hit by the softball. This emphasizes the object, which was the original object in the active voice. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go through a few examples. So to rewrite a passive voice sentence, find and begin with the subject. And the nice thing about passive voice sentences is that in many passive voice sentences, the word by precedes the subject. It's like a dead ringer. You see passive voice and you see the word by, it's almost guaranteed to be the subject. Then you just start with that. So here's the original sentence. My car was stolen by masked thieves. So was stolen, this is a signal of a passive voice. Here, the object is receiving the action, or it's being acted upon. And just like I had stated, by, or we want to rewrite this, we will notice that the word by is actually preceding the subject, or the needs to be the subject of the sentence. So the rewrite will be, masked thieves stole my car. This is an active voice sentence. It's shorter. Now, in many cases, people may want to write it in the original case because they're trying to emphasize it was their car that was stolen. So, that's why people would say it this way, my car was stolen by masked thieves, because the emphasis is on your car, not on the masked thieves. So, but technically, the rewrite, the active voice is masked thieves stole my car. Let's do another example. And this is actually from, if you recognize this sentence, this is from the misplaced modifiers, where we moved the roaming and leashed. Remember, it was modifying cars and not cats, and we moved it. Well, that sentence was actually in the passive voice. So we're going to rewrite that sentence. If you think about it, we've actually corrected the sentence to make it so it didn't have a misplaced modifier. Now we're going to make it even better by making it an active voice. So the original sentence is, many cats roaming and leashed are killed by cars. So here, the subject, many cats, is receiving the action, being killed by cars. So we want to rewrite it to the active voice. And once again, we have this signal, by signals the actual subject. So it's cars. So we just rewrite the sentence starting with cars. So the rewrite would be, cars kill many cats roaming and leashed. So if you go back to the one that had all the misplaced modifiers, notice how much shorter this sentence is. It's clearer and it's more concise. Cars kill many cats roaming and leashed. Very clear. So that's it for this video. If you want to get notifications for this series, please click subscribe. If you like the video, please hit like, and check out links to books and videos in the description. Thank you.